The court order hit my kitchen table with a sound like a gunshot, and every muscle in my body went rigid. Not frozen, coiled, like something ancient waking up. The farm's going to foreclosure auction. My brother Derek stood there in his $1,000 suit, radiating satisfaction like heat off summer pavement. Should have paid back Dad's loan when you had the chance. Behind him, my mother whispered to my Aunt Diana with that theatrical stage whisper designed to be overheard. She'll finally learn some responsibility. Maybe losing everything will teach her what we couldn't. My fingernails pressed half moons into my palms as I processed what was happening. They'd driven 3 hours from the city to deliver this news in person, to watch me crumble, to finally prove that the daughter who'd rejected their corporate plans was destined to fail. My name is Elena, I'm 34, and I run an organic farm. This is the story of how I taught my family the price of assumptions. What none of them knew, what no one outside my carefully cultivated network understood, was that the struggling farm they'd come to seize was actually the exclusive supplier to every Michelin-starred restaurant in the tri-state area. My contracts were worth more than Derek's law practice would earn in a decade. The loan they were claiming I owed? $35,000. My farm's annual revenue, $2.3 million. But my family didn't know that. They'd never asked. "You have 30 days to vacate," Derek continued, his lawyer voice dripping with condescension. "The county assessor will be here Friday to value the property for auction. Whatever's left after settling the debt goes into escrow, which," he gestured dismissively at the view through my kitchen window. "Given the state of this place, I'm guessing won't be much." I followed his gaze. Rows of carefully tended greenhouses, fields of heritage vegetables, climate-controlled facilities where I grew ingredients that chefs paid premium prices to access. To Derek, it just looked like dirt and plastic. "I never agreed to any loan," I said quietly. "Dad's estate records say otherwise. He lent you $35,000 for startup costs 6 years ago. Interest has been accruing. You owe the estate $47,000 now, and since Mom is the executor, she's authorized me to collect." I looked at my mother. "Mom, Dad gave me that money as a gift. He said he wanted to invest in my dream. There was no loan agreement." "Your father was too soft on you." She wouldn't meet my eyes. "He enabled your foolishness. I'm correcting that mistake. By stealing my farm, by teaching you consequences." She finally looked at me, her expression that familiar mixture of contempt and disappointment I'd known my entire life. "You chose to play in the dirt instead of building a real career. You rejected every opportunity Derek and I offered. Now you'll see what happens when fantasy meets reality." I could have ended it right there. I could have pulled out contracts, financial statements, testimonials from chefs who flew in from other states just to see my operation. I could have shown them exactly how wrong they were, but I didn't, because I'd learned long ago that my family didn't respond to words. They only understood proof, undeniable, public, impossible to dismiss proof. And I was about to give them exactly that. "The assessor comes Friday," I asked. "Friday morning, 9 a.m. Derek looked smug. "I'll be here to ensure the process goes smoothly." "Fine, I'll see you Friday." They left, convinced they'd won. Over the next 3 days, I prepared, not by hiding anything, by making sure everything was visible. I organized my contract files. I cleaned the processing facilities. I called my biggest clients and casually mentioned that a county assessor would be touring the operation. Several offered to send letters of support. One, the executive chef at the Green Fork in Manhattan, asked if he could be there in person. "Just in case anyone needs to understand what you've built," he said. I told him that wouldn't be necessary, but I appreciated the backup. Friday morning arrived crisp and clear. Perfect weather for the destruction of my family's delusions. Derek showed up at 8:30, overdressed in a suit that looked absurd on a working farm. My mother came with him, wearing an expression of anticipatory satisfaction. They'd brought Aunt Diana, too, probably as a witness to my humiliation. At 9 a.m. sharp, a county vehicle pulled up the driveway. The assessor was a middle-aged man named Robert Callahan. He emerged from his car with a clipboard, a camera, and the methodical demeanor of someone who'd valued thousands of properties. "Miss Montoya, I'm here for the court-ordered assessment." "Of course, please, look at anything you need." Derek inserted himself immediately. The property is approximately 40 acres, original farmhouse, some outbuildings, basic irrigation infrastructure. I've done preliminary research. Comparable agricultural land in this county sells for about $8,000 per acre. Should be a straightforward valuation. Robert glanced at him. And you are? Derek Montoya, attorney for the estate. My mother is the executor. I see. Robert made a note. I appreciate the input, but I'll need to conduct my own assessment. These things take time. How long are we talking? Several hours at minimum. Agricultural properties require comprehensive evaluation. Soil quality, water rights, infrastructure condition, any specialized equipment or facilities. He was already looking past Derek, his eyes landing on the greenhouse complex. Those structures, for instance, they'll need individual inspection. They're just greenhouses, Derek said dismissively. Plastic and pipes. Robert didn't respond. He was already walking toward the fields. I followed at a comfortable distance, watching him work. My mother and Derek and Diana clustered on the farmhouse porch, too proud to trail behind but too invested to go inside. The assessment took 4 hours. Robert walked every acre. He photographed the greenhouses, all 12 of them, each climate-controlled to different specifications. He examined the specialized irrigation systems, the seed storage vault, the propagation labs where I developed new varieties. He spent 40 minutes in the processing facility, studying the commercial-grade equipment I'd installed last year. Somewhere around the second hour, I watched his demeanor shift. He started making phone calls. His voice was too low for me to hear the details, but his body language spoke volumes. The way he straightened up, the way he started taking more photos, the way he kept returning to examine things he'd already seen. Derek was pacing by hour 3. This is taking forever. It's just a farm. It's a complex agricultural operation, Robert corrected. I'm seeing infrastructure investments that require expert valuation, controlled environment agriculture, specialized equipment I don't typically encounter. Expert valuation for vegetables? Robert looked at Derek for a long moment. Something in his expression made my brother's smugness falter. Sir, are you aware of what's being grown here? Organic produce? Tomatoes, lettuce, whatever? The kind of thing you sell at farmers markets? I see. Robert made another note. Miss Montoya, may I see your client records? Of course, they're in my office. I led him to the small building where I managed the business side of the operation. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Derek and my mother, finally curious about what was happening. I opened my filing cabinet and pulled out the client folder. It was thick, leather-bound, organized by revenue tier. These are my current contracts, active relationships, guaranteed orders, payment histories. Robert opened the folder. He read the first page, then the second. Then he stopped reading and looked at me with an expression of barely concealed amazement. Miss Montoya, is this accurate? You supply the Green Fork? Yes, they've been a client for 4 years. And Seaside? Harvest Moon? Yes and yes. And this list, 12 Michelin-starred restaurants? 13, actually, as of last month. Lumiere in Baltimore just earned their first star. They've been my client for 2 years. Robert set down the folder and pulled out his phone. I need to make a call. He stepped outside. Through the window, I could see him speaking urgently, gesturing at the greenhouses, occasionally looking back at my office with an expression of disbelief. Derek appeared in the doorway. What's going on? What's in that folder? My business records. Let me see. No. I'm the attorney for the estate. You're the attorney attempting to seize my property based on a fraudulent debt claim. You're not entitled to inspect my private business documents. Fraudulent? There's a loan. There was a gift from our father, who specifically told me it was an investment in my dream, not a loan. You manufactured this entire claim because Mom wants to punish me for not living the life she chose for me. My mother appeared behind Derek. That money was part of the estate. We have every right. You have no rights to anything of mine. I kept my voice steady. And in about 5 minutes, you're going to realize exactly how badly you've miscalculated. Robert returned. His face was flushed. Miss Montoya, I've contacted my supervisor. We're going to need additional time to complete this assessment. The property value is significantly higher than the initial estimate. How much higher? Derek demanded. Robert looked at him, then at my mother, then at me. Sir, this isn't a struggling farm. Miss Montoya is supplying premium organic produce to every Michelin-starred restaurant in the tri-state area. Her contracts alone are worth. He consulted his notes. Her annual revenue exceeds $2 million. Her client relationships, proprietary seed stocks, and specialized infrastructure add substantial value beyond the land itself. The room went dead silent. I've been doing this job for 23 years, Robert continued. I've never seen a specialty agricultural operation like this. The greenhouses are commercial-grade controlled environment systems. The seed library contains varieties that would be considered priceless to collectors. The client list reads like a guide to fine dining in America. He turned to Derek. Who told you this was a failing farm? Because whoever provided that information was either lying or profoundly ignorant. Derek looked at my mother. My mother looked at the floor. Based on my preliminary assessment, Robert concluded, this property is worth between $4 and $6 million. The exact figure will require additional expert consultation, but the range is not in question. He gathered his materials. I'll submit my report to the court. The foreclosure action will likely be dismissed. The claimed debt is a fraction of the property value, and frankly, the legitimacy of the claim itself is now in question. He walked out without another word. Nobody spoke for nearly a minute. Then Derek started scrambling. This doesn't change anything. The loan is still valid. We can negotiate a payment plan. There is no loan, Derek. There was never a loan. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a leather-bound book, the file I'd prepared years ago, waiting for this exact moment. Dad had given me this volume directly before he died, separate from the estate, perhaps anticipating exactly this kind of conflict. This is Dad's journal from 6 years ago. The entry from March 15th specifically says, gave Elena $35,000 today. Told her it was an investment in her dream, not a loan. Linda will be furious, but I believe in this girl. She's going to prove them all wrong. I handed the journal to Derek. He read the entry, his face draining of color. Dad kept journals for 30 years. They're part of his estate records. You would have found this if you'd actually done due diligence instead of just trying to hurt me. I took the journal back. This will be submitted to the court. Your fraudulent debt claim will be thrown out, and depending on how the judge feels, you might be facing sanctions for filing a frivolous action. Now wait a minute. No, you wait. I stepped closer to my brother, all the anger of 6 years finally finding its voice. You came here to take my farm. You came here to humiliate me. You came here to prove that your path was the only valid path and mine was a failure's delusion. I gestured out the window at the greenhouses, the fields, the operation I'd built with my own hands. I supply 13 Michelin-starred restaurants. I have an 18-month waiting list for new clients. Chefs fly in from other states just to see what I'm growing. My farm generates more annual revenue than your law practice. Derek said nothing. I turned to my mother. You've never believed in me. Not when I graduated top of my class. Not when I built a successful marketing career. Not when I left to follow my own path. You've spent my entire life waiting for me to fail so you could say, I told you so. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to control me. And when control didn't work, you tried destruction. I shook my head. Dad believed in me. He gave me his blessing and his support. And you've spent the 4 years since his death trying to undo everything he stood for. My mother's face crumpled, but I wasn't moved. Not this time. Leave my farm. Don't contact me again if you try anything else. Any more legal actions, any more schemes. I will respond with every resource at my disposal. And as you've just learned, those resources are considerable. Derek gathered his papers and walked out without speaking. Aunt Diana followed, looking shell-shocked. My mother lingered. Elena, I never meant. Yes, you did. You meant every word. You just didn't expect consequences. I'm your mother. You're the woman who tried to steal my livelihood to teach me a lesson. Those are very different things. I opened the door. Goodbye, Mom. She left. I closed the door and stood alone in my kitchen, looking out at the farm I'd built. The greenhouses gleaming in the afternoon sun, the fields ready for spring planting, the life I'd created from nothing but determination and my father's faith. The court dismissed the foreclosure action 6 weeks later. The judge's ruling specifically noted the lack of documentary evidence supporting the claimed debt and the contradictory evidence in my father's journals. Derek received a formal warning about filing frivolous claims. My mother attempted to reach out twice. Both times, I didn't respond. Aunt Diana sent one apologetic text a week after the assessment, admitting she'd had doubts but went along with Mom's plan. I told her I appreciated her honesty but wasn't ready to reconnect. We've exchanged